Hi, welcome to another video from Habas Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make chapati. So chapati, you may or may not know, is an Indian style bread. It's usually served alongside a main meal like a curry, like a masala or something like that. And while this isn't the traditional recipe, it's a very nice accompaniment to any curry which you're eating, and it's very easy to make with just 3 ingredients, those being 300 grams of plain flour and 150 grams of the wholemeal plain flour. It would just be 225 millilitres of water. You can also season it with salt and pepper if you wish. So to start with, we're going to need a mixing bowl and the scales. I'm just going to mix the flours together first. Just 300 grams. And this should make 8, by the way. 8 chapatis. So we just make it up to it's 450 grams of flour basically. You can actually buy chapati flour, so if you have a reliable sort of supermarket that has a decent selection of foods from around the world, you'll probably find some chapati flour. If so, just replace both of these with that chapati flour, so it's 450 grams in total. So I've got the flour in the bowl now, just give it a quick mix around, just to combine it all. What we're going to do is just make a well in the centre and then just pour in the water a little bit at a time. So I need to just measure that. So it's 225 mils. So it's a good idea to actually mix this just with a spatula or something, just to combine it all. And then just add the rest of that. So it shouldn't be a very wet dough, it should just be quite sort of dry. You can see this is still quite floury. And obviously you don't need to stick exactly to the measurements because each flour is different. Different flours absorb water at different rates, and particularly wholemeal flour, it can be very thirsty. So it's just a case of bringing that together to form a nice soft dry dough. It's a good idea to keep your scales around for this as well, because obviously we're going to try and divide it into weight, and if you want evenly sized chapati, it's a good idea to just measure the weight and then divide it up evenly. So all you want to do is just knead that gently in your mixing bowl for a little while. And just sort of get it ready for rolling out. Okay, so you can see there that's quite a stiff dough, but you just want to knead it a bit just to loosen it up. Let's bring it out onto the worktop. Okay, so the kneading, all you're doing really is just stretching those gluten strands in the flour. So you just stretch it out, press it down, stretch it out, and roll it over on itself. Turn it 90 degrees and do the same again. Stretch, roll it back. So all you're doing is just stretching this outer skin. You only need to do this for a minute or so, not like you're making a loaf of bread or anything. It's literally just basically you're training the dough to roll out. If you want it to roll out nice and thin. Okay, so that's going to be ready now. And just move that aside. So as I said, keep your scales to hand. all I do, you don't have to do this, you can do it by eye if you want, which I do most of the time, but I thought I'd show you how to do this. So it's almost 800 grams, luckily enough. So obviously dividing that by 8, you're looking at sort of less than 100 grams per ball. You need to just roll it into 8 balls. So each of those needs to be, I'm looking at about 90 grams. So it's a good idea to have one of these. This is just a dough board which I actually got when I did a bread making course. It's really useful. You can use it just to scoop up your dough and things like that, but also you can just use it to divide it without sort of marking the table or anything like that. So it's fairly even. As I said, I don't usually pay too much attention to making them completely equal sized. But you can just, the good thing about it being 8 is you can just keep halving until you get 8. So I'm now into quarters. If I now half these quarters, I will have 8 pieces. And so each one, so that's 90 grams, that's 88, and there we are. So they're all around the 90 gram mark. So all we need to do is just roll these into balls. So you can just roll them between your hands like this. Let's keep the others aside. In fact, we'll put them over this side. So they're ready to be rolled. I've got the one that I'm rolling here. So you want a little bit of flour on the work surface. You'll find you'll probably have to keep sort of topping that up because each ball that you roll out will take some of the flour with it. So you've got it into a nice ball. So just try and make it a little bit flat initially. And what I like to do is just press it into the flour each side, so you flip it over as well, so that both sides have a little bit of flour on them, so they're not going to stick to the table. And then all we do is just keep rolling it out. All I do is just roll it backwards, forwards, turn it over so it's face down, and then just keep rolling it again. For the first couple of times I'll just keep turning it over just so that you get flour on both faces. And you want to roll it out as thin as you can, as long as obviously it will fit on your frying pan. Okay, so that's about ready. So what I'm going to do is, I'm using a non-stick frying pan. I'm going to put it over heat it over a medium heat. So just a nice medium heat. So I'm using a non-stick frying pan, and that's quite important because this bread can just sort of stick to the pan. And if you try and use oil with a frying pan that isn't non-stick, then you'll find your first bread will actually absorb quite a lot of that oil, and it will just be quite a sort of moist bread when this needs to be sort of dry and floppy. So I'll just wait for that to heat up a little bit, and then I'll just put this on there. And what I like to do, I'll just get a little conveyor belt going so I get this on the frying pan, and then I start rolling the next one out, and so on. And if you're really clever, you can have 2 frying pans on the go. So you can see that's how much I've rolled that out, hopefully. That's almost circular as well, which is good. But it's very thin, it's kind of 2 millimeters or so thin. So if you sort of you could easily put your finger through it and it would tear. So I'm going to get that straight onto the pan now. So that will just need, you should only need sort of 30 to 40 seconds each side. So you sort of have to be quick when you're rolling the next ones out, if you do want to keep a sort of conveyor going, which I like to do. There's probably just enough flour there to get me through this one. So keep turning it over. Okay, so that's been 30 seconds and I've just flipped that over so you can see there's just a few brown marks on there, and that's what you want to see, just a few. It doesn't have to be sort of dark brown. That's just a sign that it's just starting to cook, which is all you need. Just stretch that out a little bit further. You really do have to sort of roll them as far as they can go without before breaking. So there you are, brown marks again either side, and it's nicely sort of bubbled up as well. That's all you want. So get the plate out. All I do is just keep them on the plate and wait for those next ones. So just keep doing this, repeat this cycle over and over again until you've got 8 lovely chapati ready to eat with your curry. Okay, let's just get the last one on there. So just one more minute and we've got 8 lovely chapati ready to eat. Now we've never kept them overnight or anything, so I can't say how long they'll last, but all I know is 8 is more than enough for both of us. We usually only have sort of three each. So they're very filling, especially if you're having them with a sort of chickpea curry or something like that. They're nice and filling. A good alternative to rice. I'm going to flip that over. And that'll be the last one. So as I said earlier, these are a great accompaniment to any curry that you have. We always have them with our butternut squash and chickpea curry, which you may have seen the video for. If not, be sure to have a look. And I really hope if you have a go at these, you enjoy them. So that's 8 chapatis ready to eat. Take the heat off. And all I like to do once all of them are ready, I just turn them upside down so the hottest one at the bottom just pushes all of its heat up through the other 7. And there you've got a nice pile of chapati. Okay, so that's it, that's the end of the recipe. I really hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you have a go at it as well. I encourage you to try something else other than rice with your curry. So if you do have a go, please leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.